The wind carried the smell of burnt metal across the empty valley of Varion. The ground was black from laser fire, and smoke still rose from broken machines. Bodies of soldiers lay between fallen ships, both human and alien. The war between humans and the Varni had reached another cruel day. A young human medic named Terran walked carefully through the ruins. His boots pressed into the soft soil mixed with ash. He carried a medical pack on his back filled with field tools and healing gel. His uniform was torn at the sleeve, and there was dust on his face, but his eyes were steady. He had seen too many battles, yet he still searched for life in places where most would expect only death. Terran's task was simple: find the wounded, save who could be saved, and mark the dead for retrieval. But nothing on this planet was ever simple. The Varni were not like humans. They were taller, stronger, and their skin had a faint silver tone that shimmered under the sunlight. They fought with honor, but their weapons were fierce, and their warriors never surrendered. Terran moved from one crater to another. He scanned the area with his life sensor, watching the small screen for any sign of movement. Most of the signals were flat lines. Now and then one flickered weakly and he ran to it. He found a human soldier under a piece of wreckage, breathing slowly. Terran knelt, gave him a pain shot, and called for pickup. Then he continued his search. The war had lasted for years. Both sides claimed to fight for peace, but neither seemed to know how to stop. The humans wanted new territory and energy mines. The Varni wanted to protect their sacred lands. Between the two goals, countless lives were lost. As Terran crossed a ridge, his sensor gave a faint beep. It was not human. The signal had a different rhythm, strange and pulsing. He froze for a moment. It was a Varni life form. Every part of his training told him to stay away. The orders were clear: heal only human soldiers. But something in him refused to ignore the signal. A life was a life, no matter whose it was. He followed the signal to a broken wall of crystal stone. Behind it, he saw movement. He stepped closer and saw her. A Varni warrior woman lay half-sitting against the stone. Her armor was cracked at the chest, and her right arm was bleeding from a deep cut. The blood shimmered blue in the dusty light. She looked young, though it was hard to tell with her kind. Her hair was long and silver, tangled with dirt. Her breathing was uneven. When she saw him, her eyes narrowed. They were bright gold, the color of burning metal. She tried to lift her weapon, but it slipped from her hand. She was too weak to fight. Terran lifted his hands slowly to show he meant no harm. "It is all right," he said quietly. "I am not going to hurt you." Her eyes watched every move he made. He could see the pain on her face, but also pride. The kind of pride that refused to beg for help even in the face of death. Terran opened his medical pack. He knew if someone saw him doing this, he would be in trouble. Maybe even court-martialed, but he could not walk away. He had promised himself when he became a medic that he would heal anyone who needed it. He moved closer and spoke softly. "You are hurt. Let me stop the bleeding." The warrior woman did not answer. Her lips were pressed tight, her breathing harsh. Terran pulled out a small injector and sprayed a numbing mist over the wound. She flinched but did not resist. He cleaned the cut carefully, wiping away the blue blood with sterile cloth. It had a strange, cool smell like ozone after a storm. As he worked, he noticed small symbols carved into her armor, lines and circles that looked ceremonial. He wondered if she was an officer. Her armor was finer than most he had seen. "You have lost a lot of blood," he said. "You need rest." She still said nothing, but her eyes softened slightly. Maybe she understood him. Maybe not. When he applied the sealing gel, the wound began to glow faintly. The alien skin reacted to the medicine differently than a human's would, but it worked. The bleeding stopped. Her breathing steadied. He pulled out a small patch and placed it over the wound. "This will keep it clean," he said. "You will be all right." For the first time, the warrior spoke. Her voice was low, almost a whisper, but it carried strength. "Why do you help me, human?" Terran paused. He looked into her golden eyes. "Because you are hurt," he said simply. "That is enough reason." She studied him for a long moment. He expected anger or mockery, but instead, she only looked thoughtful. "You should fear me," she said. "My kind do not spare yours." "Maybe," Terran replied. "But I am not your kind. I am a medic." Her gaze softened again. Then she leaned her head back against the stone, closing her eyes. Terran finished bandaging her arm. He felt a strange calm around her, as if the world outside the small ruin had faded. A loud noise broke the silence, the sound of approaching engines. Terran's communicator buzzed. A human patrol was nearby, sweeping the area. If they found him with an alien, he would be finished. He turned to her quickly. You have to stay quiet. Soldiers are coming. She opened her eyes again, alert. Will you give me to them? No, he said. But you need to hide. He looked around and found a narrow space behind a piece of collapsed structure. He helped her move there. Her strength was returning, but she was still weak. When she tried to stand, he supported her gently. Stay here, he whispered. They will not look this way. She nodded once, trusting him for reasons even she did not understand. Taryn stepped back into the open. The human patrol arrived moments later, 3 soldiers in dust-stained armor. Their leader saluted. Medic Taryn, he said. Did you find any survivors? Only human, Taryn answered calmly. No sign of Varnai in this sector. The soldier nodded. Good, we are clearing out. Orders are to regroup at base. When they left, Taryn waited until their sound faded. He returned to the hiding place. The alien woman was still there, watching him quietly. They are gone, he said. You are safe now. She looked at him, and for a moment he saw something like confusion in her eyes. Or maybe curiosity. You lied for me, she said slowly. Why? He thought about it. Because I could not let them kill someone I just saved, he said. And because this war has taken too much already. She tilted her head, studying his face. You speak as if you are tired of war. I am, he admitted. Aren't you? For a moment she did not answer. Then she looked at the sky. The light of 2 suns touched her face, making her silver hair shine. Perhaps, she said. But my people depend on me. I cannot stop fighting yet. Taryn wanted to ask her name, but she looked distant again, as if her thoughts were far away. He picked up his pack. You need to go back to your people, he said. The wound will heal, but you should not fight until it does. She stood slowly, her strength returning. When she straightened, she was taller than him by a head. Her armor caught the light like glass. You have saved my life, she said. That is a debt my people do not forget. Taryn shook his head. You owe me nothing. Just stay alive. The warrior woman gave him a strange look, half a smile, half sadness. You are different from the others, she said quietly. Perhaps there is hope in your kind after all. Before he could respond, she turned and walked toward the distant hills where the mist of the Varnai camp rose like smoke. He watched her go until she disappeared behind the rocks. When she was gone, he felt a strange emptiness. He could not explain why her words stayed with him. Maybe it was the way she spoke. Not like an enemy, but like someone who carried a burden too heavy to share. He touched the patch of dust where she had sat, then turned back toward his camp. The valley was quiet again. The sun began to sink behind the mountains, throwing long shadows across the battlefield. Taryn walked alone, his heart heavy with questions. Who was she? Why did she fight? And why did helping her feel more right than anything he had done in this war? That night, as the human camp lights flickered in the dark, Taryn sat by his small tent. He cleaned his tools and checked his records, pretending everything was normal. But his thoughts kept returning to those golden eyes and the sound of her calm voice. He knew he could not tell anyone what he had done. If the commanders found out, they would call it treason. Yet deep inside, he felt no guilt. He had done what he was meant to do. Heal. Far away, under the twin moons of Varion, the warrior woman reached her hidden camp. The guards saluted as she entered, their faces filled with shock at her injury. She waved them off and went straight to her tent. When her advisor asked what happened, she said only, "A human saved me." They stared in disbelief. No one could imagine such a thing. But she did not explain further. She simply sat in silence, touching the bandage on her arm, thinking of the medic who had treated her without fear or hate. Her name was Zara, though few used it openly. Among her people, she was known by another title, the Queen of Varnai. The sun of Varion rose slowly over the battlefield, spreading golden light across the wounded land. The air was still heavy with smoke and silence. Taryn woke early inside his small medical tent at the human camp. His back ached from sleeping on the cold ground, and his mind was restless. He could not stop thinking about the alien warrior woman he had helped the day before. Her eyes had followed him in his dreams, and her calm voice still echoed in his ears. He had saved many lives before, but this one felt different. There was something in her that did not fit the image of an enemy. When he stepped outside, soldiers were already moving through the camp. They cleaned weapons, repaired armor, and prepared for the next orders. The war never waited for anyone. Even after victory, there was always another mission. Terran checked the supply tent and began organizing the medical crates. He spoke little, only answering short when other medics asked him questions. He could not tell them what he had done. The rules were clear. Helping an enemy could cost him everything. Still, he did not regret it. Captain Bryn entered the tent. He was tall, with a scar across his face and a voice that carried command. "Medic Terran," he said. "The general wants full reports on the wounded by noon. We have new orders coming." "Yes, sir," Terran replied. He handed over the datapad with patient records. Bryn glanced through the numbers. "You did well yesterday," he said. "We saved more men than expected. Keep it up. We may need to move soon." When the captain left, Terran sighed in relief. He had feared being questioned about his time on the field, but no one suspected anything. For now, his secret was safe. Later that day, he walked to the edge of camp where the hills rose toward the alien side. The wind blew softly, carrying faint sounds from the other valley. He wondered if the warrior woman had survived the journey. He hoped she had. He also wondered who she truly was. Her armor had been different, and her manner of speech had carried authority. She was not an ordinary soldier. On the other side of the valley, the Varnai camp lay hidden under the cover of tall crystal trees. Inside a large tent of woven silver cloth, the warrior woman Zara sat quietly while her healers examined her arm. The wound was closing fast, the strange human medicine working better than expected. One of her advisors, a stern older Varnai named Reth, watched with concern. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "you should not have gone alone into the battlefield." "It was too dangerous," Zara looked at him. "A queen who hides behind her throne knows nothing of her people," she said. "I needed to see the war with my own eyes." Reth frowned. "And now you return wounded. If the council learns that a human touched you, they will question your strength." Zara stood slowly, her posture graceful but firm. "Let them question. What I saw out there taught me more than any council speech could. The humans are not all the same. Some are cruel, yes, but some are kind. One of them saved me when he could have walked away." Reth's expression hardened. "You speak as if they are friends. Do not forget they invaded our lands. They burned our cities. You cannot trust them." Zara's eyes turned distant. "I do not trust easily, Reth, but I saw truth in that man's eyes." He did not see an enemy. He saw a person. The advisor bowed his head slightly. "If you wish it, I will keep this matter quiet. The people must not know their queen was saved by a human." "Thank you," Zara said. "For now, this stays between us." She left the tent and walked toward the high ridge that overlooked the valley. From there, she could see the human camp in the distance, small lights glimmering like stars in the dust. She wondered if the medic was there working as always. She did not even know his name, but she would remember his face. That night, the Varnai Council met inside the crystal chamber. Generals, advisors, and leaders gathered to plan their next move. Zara entered wearing light armor, her arm covered by a silver band. The room fell silent. General Koran stepped forward. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried the pride of 100 victories. "Your Majesty," he said, "we have pushed the humans back. They are weak now. One more strike and we can force them off our planet." Zara studied the map on the table. Red marks showed the human positions, while blue marks showed her forces. The plan was aggressive, designed for total victory. "Victory at what cost?" she asked quietly. Koran frowned. "The humans have taken our land. They will not stop unless we destroy them. The cost does not matter." Zara looked at him steadily. "Every battle takes sons and daughters from both sides. How many more must die before it is enough?" The council murmured. Reth gave her a warning look, but she continued. "I have seen the battlefield," Zara said. "It is filled with the dead of both kinds. I will not lead my people into endless bloodshed. There must be another way." Koran's voice grew sharper. "You speak of peace, Your Majesty, but peace with humans is a dream. They are invaders, not allies." Zara's gaze turned cold. "Perhaps, but even a dream is worth seeking if it spares lives." The council ended in tense silence. Many left shaking their heads. Only Reth stayed behind. "You risk your throne speaking this way," he said. Zara looked out at the horizon. A throne means nothing if it stands on endless graves. For days she thought about what to do. The human medic had changed something inside her. His act of mercy had shown that even in war, compassion could still exist. She decided to test that belief. 3 days later, a human communication station received a strange signal. It was not encoded like normal enemy transmissions. It was a message written in both languages, requesting medical supplies and temporary aid for wounded Varnai civilians caught in the last battle. The message was signed only with a royal seal. At the human base, confusion spread quickly. The officers gathered to study it. Some thought it was a trap. Others said it might be a chance for peace. General Brandt, commander of the human division, paced in front of the table. "We cannot trust this," he said. "It could be a trick to draw us out." Captain Bryn nodded. "Maybe so, sir, but the message sounds genuine. It speaks of civilians, not soldiers." Terran stood at the back of the room, silent. He recognized the royal symbol from the armor he had seen. It was the same pattern carved on the warrior woman's chest plate. His heart began to race. She was alive, and she was important far more than he had imagined. Brandt turned to the officers. "We will discuss this with the higher command. Until then, no one crosses the line." When the meeting ended, Terran caught up with Captain Bryn. "Sir," he said carefully, "if they truly have wounded civilians, we cannot just ignore them. I can help assess the situation. Let me go with the next recon team." Bryn hesitated. "You want to go into alien territory?" "Yes, sir," Terran said. "I am a medic. If they are telling the truth, people are suffering there. I can help." The captain studied him for a moment, then sighed. "All right, but if this turns out to be a trap, you will answer for it." Terran nodded. "Understood." The next morning, a small human transport ship crossed the valley under a white signal light. The Varnai allowed it to land near their border camp. Terran stepped out with a few other medics carrying boxes of supplies. His heart pounded as he looked around. The Varnai city rose in the distance, glowing with soft blue lights. It was not a fortress of monsters, as humans described. It looked alive, full of strange beauty. The buildings were shaped like growing crystals, and the air shimmered with faint energy. Children and elders watched from a distance as the humans entered, curious but cautious. A group of Varnai guards led them to a large hall. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and ozone. Wounded Varnai lay on soft mats, their silver skin pale. Terran moved quickly, checking their pulses, cleaning wounds, and using his tools to stabilize them. His movements were calm, professional, but inside he felt the weight of every stare. Then a voice came from behind him. "You work without fear, human." He turned, and there she was. The warrior woman stood at the end of the hall, her arm healed and her armor shining. Her presence drew silence from everyone around. Terran froze for a moment, then bowed his head slightly. "You are alive," he said. "I am," she replied. "Thanks to you." The other Varnai in the room bowed slightly when she entered. Terran's eyes widened. Only then did he realize who she truly was. This was not just a warrior. This was their ruler, the queen herself. She walked closer, her golden eyes calm. "You saved my life on the field," she said. "Now you come again to heal those who cannot fight." "Why?" Terran took a breath. "Because healing is what I do. I do not choose by race or side." A small smile touched her lips. "You are brave for speaking so among enemies." "Maybe," he said. "But I do not see enemies here. Only people in pain." The queen looked at him for a long time. Then she said softly, "Perhaps there is more wisdom in your kind than we believed." Around them, the wounded rested in silence. The air felt lighter. For the first time since the war began, a human and a Varnai queen stood together. Not as enemies, but as healer and healed. That night, as Terran prepared to return to his base, Zara met him outside the hall. The stars of Varion shone bright above. "You crossed a line today that few would dare," she said. "I will not forget it," Terran nodded. "Maybe one day there will be no lines to cross." Zara looked toward the human camp in the distance. "Perhaps that day will come sooner than we think." They stood in silence, two figures under the alien sky, neither friend nor foe, but... The next morning began with bright light spilling over the silver hills of Varion. Terran sat near his small tent in the human camp, looking at the horizon where the Varnai city stood far away like a glowing jewel. He could still see in his mind the queen's golden eyes and the calm strength she carried. Her presence had stayed with him since the moment he saw her again. Rumors spread quickly through the camp. Many soldiers talked about the meeting between humans and the Varnai the day before. Some said the aliens only wanted a trap. Others whispered that their leader might be different from what they had imagined. Most people laughed at the idea of a peaceful queen. To them, the Varnai were monsters, not rulers with hearts. Terran said nothing. He focused on his medical reports, trying to stay unnoticed. Deep inside, he felt that something had changed. The Queen's words had touched him. She spoke not with hate, but with a kind of sadness that came from losing too much. Captain Bryn entered the tent later that day. His tone was serious. "Medic Terran," he said, "the command has agreed to continue limited aid missions. You will be part of the next group again. The Varnai have requested another delivery of supplies." Terran nodded. "When do we leave?" "In 2 hours," Bryn said. "This time you will meet their representative directly. Do not cause any problems." Terran gave a small smile. "I will not, sir." When the shuttle lifted off, the soldiers inside were quiet. The air was tense. Some still did not trust the Varnai. The pilot kept glancing at the radar as if expecting an ambush. But nothing happened. The journey was calm. The alien city appeared again, shining under the 2 suns, surrounded by tall crystal towers and rivers that glowed faint blue. When Terran stepped off the shuttle, a group of Varnai guards greeted him. They were silent but respectful. He noticed how their armor reflected light like water. They led him through a long path into a tall hall of silver glass. Inside, he saw her again. Queen Zara stood beside a large window that showed the view of the valley. Her arm was fully healed now, but a faint mark remained where he had sealed her wound days ago. She turned when she heard his footsteps. "You returned," she said. "I did," Terran replied. "We brought more medicine and supplies," she nodded. "You keep your promises. That is rare in war." He handed her a datapad. "These are the supplies we can offer. We also brought water filters for your civilians." Zara looked at the list and smiled slightly. "Your people make fine machines," she said. "We value this help." As they spoke, Varnai healers came to take the supplies. They moved gracefully, their hands glowing faintly as they used their natural energy to heal. Terran watched with quiet wonder. Their methods were different from human medicine, more connected to the energy that lived in everything on their world. One of the healers approached him and asked about human treatments. Terran showed her how to use the sealant gel and the small energy patch that closed wounds fast. She watched carefully, nodding with interest. Zara observed them from a short distance, her expression thoughtful. When they finished, Zara said, "You share your knowledge freely, even with those who once fought you." "Why?" Terran answered. "Because knowledge that heals should not belong to one side. It should belong to everyone." The Queen looked at him for a moment, then said softly, "If more humans thought like you, this war might have ended long ago." They walked together along the balcony that overlooked the valley. The wind was cool and carried the sound of distant waterfalls. The city below shimmered with light. Children played near the riverbanks, their laughter faint but clear. "You see," Zara said, "this is what I fight for, not victory or pride, but for them to live in peace. But the generals on both sides cannot see past revenge." Terran nodded. "Many of our leaders think the same way. They believe peace is weakness." "Then we must show them that it is strength," she said. He turned to look at her. "How can we do that when everyone around us wants more war?" Zara smiled faintly. "By proving that humans and Varnai can stand side by side. By showing that there is another way." Before Terran could answer, a guard entered the hall quickly and bowed. "Your Majesty," he said, "a message from the outer colonies has arrived." "It is urgent." Zara took the small device from his hands. The message was in Varnai script, glowing softly. She read it in silence, her face growing tense. Then she looked at Terran. "This is a message from one of our border stations," she said. "They report strange energy signals coming from human space. It might be an attack." Terran shook his head. "No order like that has been given from our side, at least not that I know." She studied him closely. "Would you know if your high command acted without telling your field medics?" He had no answer. It was true that human high command often made decisions without sharing them. Still, he wanted to believe they would not break the truce so soon. "I can check," Terran said quickly. "Give me some time. If this is true, maybe I can stop it." Zara hesitated, then nodded. "I will trust you once more. But if this attack is real, the peace we try to build will vanish." He left soon after, his mind full of worry. When he returned to his camp, he went straight to Captain Bryn's office. The captain looked up from his reports, surprised. "Terran," he said. "Back already? Did something happen?" "Yes, sir," Terran said. "The Varnai received a signal. They think our fleet is preparing to strike again. Is it true? Bryn frowned. Where did you hear that? I cannot say, Terran replied quickly. But please tell me if it is true. We just started talking about peace. If this happens, everything will fall apart. Bryn hesitated. He rubbed his chin before answering. There are rumors that High Command has deployed ships near their border, but they say it is only for defense. Terran felt his chest tighten. If they see those ships, they will think it is an attack. I know, Bryn said, but we do not control the orders from above. Terran left the tent with heavy steps. The stars were bright above the camp, but he felt no peace looking at them. He knew if this misunderstanding grew, war would return worse than before. He decided to act. Late that night, he sent a coded message to the Varney Queen's secure channel. It was risky, but he had no choice. The message was short and clear. Fleet movement confirmed near border. Possible misunderstanding. I will try to delay human response. Please hold your ground and do not strike first. When Zara received the message, she stood in silence for a long time. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. If she ordered an attack, thousands would die. If she waited and it was truly an invasion, her people would call her weak. She called her council again. We will not strike first, she said firmly. I want scouts to observe, not to fire. I will not let fear decide our actions. General Karan was furious. You risk our safety, Your Majesty. The humans will take advantage of this hesitation. Zara met his eyes without fear. If I am wrong, you may call me a fool. But if I am right, we may save our future. Karan bowed unwillingly. As you command. For 2 days, tension hung across the stars. Both sides watched each other carefully, waiting for the first move. Then new reports arrived. The human fleet had turned back. The supposed attack had only been a test of their engines near the border. When the news reached Zara, relief filled the hall. She closed her eyes and whispered, You were right, Terran. On the other side, Terran also received confirmation. He smiled quietly, knowing that the fragile peace still lived. Later that evening, a small shuttle from the Varney side arrived near the human base. It carried a sealed message addressed to Terran. Inside was a crystal piece that glowed faint blue. When he touched it, a holographic image of Queen Zara appeared. Terran, her voice said softly, You kept your word again. Because of your message, we avoided another tragedy. You may not know it, but you have changed the course of our history. The next step is not in the hands of generals, but in the hearts of those who still believe in hope. I thank you. The message faded, leaving Terran speechless. He held the crystal tightly. He felt something stir inside him, something stronger than duty or orders. It was respect, maybe even something deeper. From that day, small exchanges began between the two sides. Human medics taught Varney healers about medicine, and Varney engineers shared their energy technology. It was not official peace, but it was a beginning. Still, not everyone was happy. In dark corners of both camps, whispers grew. Some said the queen had become soft. Others said a human had betrayed his people by helping the enemy. Hatred did not die easily, but Terran and Zara continued their work quietly, sending messages, sharing aid, and building trust step by step. They both knew that peace was fragile, but even a single act of kindness could hold back the storm. And somewhere deep in their hearts, both of them wondered the same thing. If 2 people could change the hearts of many, maybe one day the stars themselves would no longer separate their worlds. The calm that followed the near war lasted only a few weeks. To most soldiers on both sides, it felt strange to live without fighting. Patrols were smaller, and the sky above the planet of Varian was finally free from burning ships. Humans in Varney began sending small supply teams to trade medicine, water purifiers, and energy devices. It was not peace, but it was something close. Terran spent most of his days in the human medical tent, organizing shipments for the Varney healers. He had grown used to seeing their tall figures walking through the camp without fear. Even some human soldiers had started speaking with them. The barrier of hate was slowly breaking, but deep inside the human command, not everyone liked this change one afternoon. While Terran was treating a soldier with a broken arm, Captain Bryn entered the tent with a serious face. He waved Terran aside and lowered his voice. There are new orders from High Command, Bryn said. They are sending an inspection team from the Central Fleet. They will arrive in 3 days. Their leader is General Soren. Terran froze. Everyone knew Soren's name. He was one of the hardest men in the fleet. A commander who believed peace was weakness. Wherever he went, war soon followed. What will he inspect? Terran asked carefully. Everything, Bryn said. He wants to see how we handle the Varnai situation. He has already called our communication with them suspicious. If he finds out about your personal talks with the Queen, he might call it treason. Terran felt a cold wave pass through him. He had kept most of his messages secret, but if Soren had access to the records, nothing would stay hidden. Bryn put a hand on his shoulder. Be careful, he said. You did good things, Terran, but the High Command does not always reward good hearts. They reward obedience. For the next few days, tension filled the camp again. Soldiers cleaned their gear and stood straighter than ever, trying to look perfect for inspection. When General Soren's ship landed, the ground shook under its weight. The ship was huge, dark, and marked with the symbol of the Central Fleet. Soren stepped out in his black uniform, tall and cold. His eyes were like steel. He looked around the camp without a smile. So this is the peace camp, he said with a hint of scorn. It looks too comfortable for a war zone. He met Captain Bryn and gave him a short salute. Show me everything. I want to see how far the softness has spread. When they passed the medical tent, Terran stood quietly by his table. Soren stopped in front of him and read his name tag. You're the medic who treated the alien woman, Soren said. The one who turned out to be their queen. Terran nodded slowly. Yes, sir, Soren's eyes narrowed. You must feel proud healing an enemy ruler. I only did my duty as a medic, Terran replied. I save lives, not choose sides. Soren looked at him for a long moment, then said, a soldier without sides is a dangerous thing. Then he walked away after the inspection. Soren called a meeting with Bryn and the officers. Terran was not allowed inside, but he could sense the anger that grew within that tent. Voices rose, and at one point Bryn's tone turned sharp. When the meeting ended, Bryn came out looking worried. He wants to restart military operations, Bryn told Terran quietly. He says the Varnai cannot be trusted. He plans to bring more troops within a week. Terran felt his chest tighten again. Everything they had built could be destroyed in days. We need to warn them, he said. Bryn shook his head. If you contact them now, Soren will find out. He is watching all signals. Terran could not sleep that night. He sat outside his tent under the pale moon of Varion, staring at the glowing hills. The memory of Zara's calm face returned to him. He remembered her voice saying, peace is strength. If he did nothing now, all her effort would be lost. He made his choice before dawn. When the guards changed shift, Terran slipped into the communication post. He used an old medical frequency not often checked by command. His fingers moved fast as he sent a coded message to Queen Zara. Human High Command plans to bring more troops. War may return soon. Be ready, but do not strike first. I will try to delay them. He closed the signal just in time as the door opened. A young technician entered, yawning. Terran pretended to check medical data and quickly left the room. Later that morning, Queen Zara received his message. She read it in silence. Around her, the Varnai Council argued loudly. Some demanded to prepare the army. Others said they should strike first to protect themselves. But Zara stood calm as always. We will not begin the fight, she said. The human medic risked his life to warn us. That means not all humans follow the path of war. We must hold our ground and show strength through patience. General Karan looked at her with frustration. Patience will not stop their guns, my queen. Maybe not, she said. But fear will only bring more death. That same day, General Soren called for a public gathering in the human camp. He spoke loudly, his voice echoing across the yard. For too long, he said, we have trusted these aliens. We have shared supplies and words. And what have we gained? Nothing. They rebuild their weapons while pretending peace. I will not allow this weakness to spread any further. Many soldiers cheered, but others stayed silent. Some looked uneasy, remembering the aid missions and the lives they had saved together. Terran stood in the crowd, his heart heavy. He wanted to speak, but Bryn gave him a warning look from across the yard. He understood the message. Stay quiet or risk everything. That evening, Soren ordered the preparation of long-range artillery. He claimed it was a precaution, but everyone knew it was the first step toward war. Terran went to Bryn's tent. We must stop this, he said. If we attack, the Varnai will defend themselves. It will destroy everything. Bryn looked tired. Do you think I do not know that? But if we resist, he will remove us and bring someone worse. Then I will act, Terran said firmly. Bryn's eyes widened. Terran, listen to me. Whatever you plan, think twice. You cannot stop a general alone. Maybe not, Terran said, but maybe I can buy time. That night, he took a small shuttle from the supply hangar and flew toward the Varnai city without permission. He knew if he was caught, he would face trial, but he no longer cared. The journey through the dark sky felt endless. When he landed near the crystal towers, guards surrounded him at once. But when he spoke the Queen's name, they led him inside. Zara met him in the Great Hall. Her expression showed surprise and worry. You should not be here, she said. If they find you missing, it will mean trouble. They already planned trouble, Terran said. Soren wants war. You must prepare your people, but please do not strike first. I will try to stop the attack from our side. Zara studied his face for a long time. Why do you risk everything for us because you are not my enemy? He said. I saw your people. I saw the children by the river. I cannot let them suffer again, her eyes softened. You are brave, Terran, maybe too brave, but if there is a chance to stop this, we will take it together. They spent hours planning. Zara would hold her forces in defense and Terran would return to delay Soren's orders. When he left, she gave him a small glowing crystal. This will show my trust, she said. If anyone doubts your word, show them this. It carries my royal code. He took it and bowed his head. I will not fail. By the time he reached the human camp, dawn was breaking. Soldiers were already moving artillery to the hills. Soren was shouting orders, his voice sharp and commanding. Terran ran to Bryn. We must stop this now, he said, showing him the crystal. This is the Queen's code. She has not mobilized her army. If we fire, we will be the ones breaking peace. Bryn looked at the crystal and then at Terran. He nodded slowly. Give me 10 minutes, he said. They went together to Soren's command tent. Soren looked angry when they entered. What is this interruption? Bryn stood straight. Sir, before we open fire, you need to see this. He placed the crystal on the table. Light filled the room and a small image of Queen Zara appeared. Her voice was calm. To the human fleet. We have received reports of your weapon movement. The Varnai people have not responded with force. We choose peace. Do not let the old hate lead you again. When the image faded, silence filled the room. Soren's face turned red. This is manipulation, he said. They are trying to trick us. No, sir, Terran said. She speaks the truth. Our scouts confirm no enemy activity. If we fire now, we will be the ones starting war again. Soren glared at him. You have grown too fond of them, medic. Maybe you forgot which side you belong to. I belong to life, Terran said quietly. Not to death. The words hit like a spark in dry air. Some officers shifted uneasily. Bryn stepped forward. Sir, we cannot fire on unarmed people. That is not defense. That is murder. Soren stared at both of them, then shouted, Guards, arrest them. But before the guards could move, the communication screen lit up. A new message came from the Central Fleet. The Supreme Council had received Zara's recording through official diplomatic channels. They ordered all military actions to stop immediately. Soren froze. His face went pale. The command had been taken out of his hands. Bryn smiled slightly. Looks like the council made their choice. Terran exhaled in relief. The danger had passed, at least for now. Soren left the camp that evening furious and silent. No one saw him again after that day. When the sun set over the hills, Terran looked toward the distant glow of the Varnai city. He knew Zara would be watching the same sky. Peace was still fragile, but now it had roots stronger than before. The days after the halted attack were quiet but full of careful activity. On Varian, both humans and Varnai moved cautiously, checking each other's intentions. Soldiers on both sides still carried weapons, but the air was less tense. The humans had learned that not all aliens were enemies, and the Varnai had begun to see that some humans could act with honor and mercy. Terran woke early in the human camp. He could hear the soft hum of energy from distant towers, a sign that both sides had slowed their war efforts. The sky was pale gold, reflecting off the silver hills. He felt restless but also hopeful. The Queen had trusted him, and her trust had prevented bloodshed. When he walked through the camp, soldiers nodded at him respectfully. They had started to see the importance of the work he was doing with the Varnai. Small teams of medics were preparing supplies for the next delivery mission. Terran joined them, checking medicine packs and making sure every device was in order. Captain Bryn approached him quietly. Terran, I have good news, he said. The Supreme Council has officially sent orders for peaceful exchanges with the Varnai. They have assigned us to oversee the process. You will lead one of the teams. Terran nodded. Thank you, sir. I will do my best, Bryn smiled faintly. This is bigger than anything we have done before. It will take patience and careful planning, but I trust you can handle it. The shuttle to the Varnai city lifted off mid-morning. Terran looked down at the shining towers below. When they landed, a group of Varnai guards greeted them, bowing in respect. He noticed that Zara was already waiting at the hall entrance. Her presence commanded silence, yet comfort filled the air. You have returned, she said softly. Yes, Your Majesty, Terran said, using the formal title now that he fully understood her position. I have medicine and supplies for your people. We also brought water purifiers for areas affected by the last battle. Zara nodded. You keep your promises. That is rare in war. Terran handed over the supplies, and Varnai healers moved quickly to organize them. Their gestures were precise, their energy flowing as naturally as water. Terran watched them work and felt admiration for their dedication. Zara led him through the city. Children waved as they passed, their laughter a soft melody among the crystal towers. He noticed the older citizens observing quietly, some nodding at him in gratitude. It was a peaceful city, but one built with awareness of war. He realized that both humans and Varnai carried heavy burdens, yet life had not stopped. When they reached a large hall overlooking the valley, Zara turned to him. Terran, you have done more than you know. By saving my life and warning us of the fleet, you prevented a war that could have taken thousands. Your actions changed history. Terran shook his head. I only did what I thought was right. You were in danger. I could not ignore it. Her golden eyes studied him closely. Your kind often believes that power is the only path to safety. Yet you have shown courage without weapons. That is rare. They spent hours discussing the future. Terran shared suggestions about medical procedures that could be used in both camps. Zara spoke about rebuilding cities, protecting civilians, and teaching the young to see beyond hatred. Both realized that true peace would require trust, patience, and shared effort. Over the next days, small teams of humans and Varnai began working together. They built shelters, repaired damaged energy systems, and taught children to use clean water safely. Terran moved between both sides, his presence acting as a bridge. Every day, he saw how ordinary people could rise above the decisions of generals and leaders. One afternoon, while inspecting a small water purification station near the valley, Terran noticed a group of young Varnai watching him curiously. One of them, a girl with silver hair and bright eyes, stepped forward. Medic, she said in careful common. Why do you help us? Terran knelt to meet her gaze. Because you are people, not enemies. Every life matters, no matter whose it is, the girl smiled. Our queen says the same. She says trust is stronger than weapons. Terran nodded. She is wise. As he spoke, Zara appeared behind the group. She watched silently for a moment, then spoke to the children. These words are true. We all must learn to help each other. That is the path to a better future. The children ran to play, their laughter echoing across the valley. Terran felt a warmth he had not felt in years. The weight of war was still there, but now hope was stronger. Later that evening, Zara invited Terran to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons rose slowly, casting silver light across the crystal towers. You have changed more than this city, Zara said softly. You have changed me. Terran looked at her, unsure how to respond. I did not do anything special. I only followed what I believed was right. But that is rare, she said. Many follow orders without question, even when they see injustice. You chose to act differently. That choice gave life to hundreds, maybe thousands. Terran felt humility and pride at the same time. I could not have done it without you trusting me. I only acted because you allowed it, Zara smiled faintly. Then we saved each other in a way. You taught me to see humans differently, and I hope I showed you that Varnai are not monsters. They stood in silence, watching the moonlight dance over the city. Around them, life continued. Soldiers, healers, and children moved with purpose, but with more ease than before. The long shadow of war had lifted slightly. Over the next weeks, official diplomatic channels were established. Human and Varnai leaders spoke through secure transmissions. Agreements were signed for shared resources, medical aid, and the protection of civilians. Though there were still disagreements, the tone was different. There was room for compromise, and that alone was revolutionary. Terran continued to visit the Varnai city regularly. Each time he saw improvement in the lives of ordinary citizens. Children learned both human and Varnai lessons. Markets reopened. Rivers ran clearer. Energy systems hummed safely. The air was still heavy with memory, but it carried a new lightness as well. One morning, as he prepared to return to his human base, Zara came to meet him. She carried a small crystal that glowed faintly blue. "Terran," she said, "this is a symbol of our alliance. Share it with your leaders. Show them that trust can prevent war." He took it carefully. "I will, and I will continue to help as long as they let me." She smiled. "You have more influence than you know. Your courage has opened a path that many thought impossible." As he returned to his shuttle, Terran looked back at the city. The crystal towers glowed softly in the morning sun. He thought of Zara, the queen who had fought on the battlefield and trusted a human medic. He thought of the lives saved, of the children learning without fear, and of a future that now seemed possible. When he arrived at the human base, he reported to Captain Bryn and presented the crystal. Its glow projected a message to the officers, showing Zara's words of peace and trust. The council members and soldiers watched in silence, some with awe, others with cautious respect. For the first time, both humans and Varnai realized that one act of courage, one choice to heal instead of harm, could ripple across worlds. Terran's actions had prevented bloodshed, inspired a queen, and built the first bridge between two species who had only known war. Weeks later, the first joint festival took place in the valley. Humans and Varnai stood side by side, sharing music, stories, and food. Children ran between them without fear. Medics from both sides taught each other new techniques. Soldiers from both sides learned games and gestures of friendship. Terran walked through the festival, seeing the results of his choices. He found Zara standing on a small balcony overlooking the crowd. She waved at him and he smiled back. "You kept your word," she said when he joined her. "So did you," he replied. The twin moons rose over Varian again, and the stars reflected the city's glow. For the first time in generations, the people of Varian could imagine a future where humans and Varnai lived not as enemies, but as neighbors, friends, and allies. Terran knew the road ahead was long. There would still be challenges, distrust, and old grudges, but he also knew something stronger had begun: understanding. And sometimes that was enough to change everything. As the festival lights danced across the valley, Terran and Zara stood together, a human and a queen, connected not by war, but by a single choice to heal, to trust, and to hope. The war was not over in memory, but it no longer ruled the hearts of those who chose a different path. For Terran, the battlefield was now far behind. In its place was a future filled with light, possibility, and the knowledge that courage and compassion could outshine any weapon. And for Queen Zara, the memory of a human medic who had healed her wound would remain, a symbol of the bridge between their worlds, and a reminder that even in the darkest times, a single act of kindness could shape history.